You're not tired, you're untuned. Trees aren't scenery. They're transmitters, living towers running a language older than our cities and calmer than our noise. Thoth said, "As above, so below." The forest proves it. The breath in your chest echoes the breath of the canopy, and when the two fall into step, your nervous system stops leaking energy and starts holding charge. This film isn't asking you to believe, it's inviting you to tune. Attention, breath, sound, intention, the four keys. You'll learn how to approach a tree with permission, release what's heavy down its roots, and receive what's coherent up your spine. You'll hear why ancient rites match what modern forest science is finally measuring, and how 5 quiet minutes can change the rest of your day. This is a protocol, not a poem. Follow it, and peace stops being a mood and becomes your baseline. You don't imagine what trees do to you. Your body runs the numbers the second you step under a canopy. The air feels different because it is quieter in its patterns. Richer in plant signals, your nervous system reads like a familiar score. Heart rate eases, shoulders drop, thoughts stop skidding. Give it 10 minutes and your chemistry tilts. Give it an hour and the rest of the day coasts. Forests aren't backdrops. They are editors, taking the noise out of your system until the signal can be heard again. Start with breath. City air is a scatter of alerts. Forest air is coherent. When leaves exhale, they release aromatic molecules that aren't perfume. They're part of the tree's immune conversation. You inhale that conversation, and your stress chemistry gets the hint. The body hears, stand down. Meanwhile, your eyes, so used to rectangles, receive a field of fractals, branching patterns that repeat without shouting. Vision relaxes because it's looking at geometry it evolved to track. The brain winds out of tension because the scene is legible to it at every scale. Sound finishes what the air and the light begin. Urban audio is hard edges, sirens, compressors, doors. Woodland sound is irregular and soft, leaves rattling, birds trading notes, water making small repairs in the background. That randomness is the opposite of a ringtone. It doesn't yank, it invites. Your attention widens to hold more of the scene at once, and as it does, the vagus nerve finds its rhythm. The heart's beat-to-beat variation improves. You don't force calm. You're tuned there by contact, the way a guitar string falls into key when a true note fills the room. Some specifics are too frank for this platform. Join our free newsletter at the link in the description to get the full field notes. And for a limited time, you'll also receive our ebook by email when you enter your address. Beneath your feet, an older internet hums, roots linked by fungal filaments, sugars paying for messages, warnings and gifts moving at the speed of soil. When one tree struggles, a neighbor knows. When a sapling stalls in shade, a larger mother pipes carbon its way. This is logistics, not lullaby. The forest behaves less like a crowd and more like a single distributed mind. Stand inside that mind, and you're the first thing that changes. Your lungs aren't separate from this story. The same branching math that draws river deltas draws bronchi. The same efficiency rules that keep sap flowing, keep blood moving. As above, so below, stops being a slogan and becomes physiology. This is why you feel taller under pines, why grief finds a channel beside willow, why oaks make you want to plant your feet and let the breath drop. Species carry signatures: oak for steadiness, willow for release, pine for clarity and long breath. You don't have to believe it to notice it. Your body notices first. If you were made for forests, what happened? You traded slow, wide inputs for narrow, fast ones. Screens sprint, trees stroll. Digital space teaches the eye to lock, pop, and the breath to climb. Forest space softens the eye and lowers the breath, and your biology will always pick the older teacher when you let it. The trick isn't to force a state, it's to remove the friction that keeps you from stepping outside long enough for the adjustment to take. Think of the canopy as a charger with etiquette. You don't just plug in, you arrive, you listen, You let your pace match the place. After a few ordinary minutes, stop. Notice the first thing that isn't about you. The cool seam where wind slides along bark, the temperature shift between sun and shade, a violet you somehow missed last year. That shift from self to field is the beginning of the method. In that moment, your nervous system quits being the loudest thing in the room, and the forest can start doing its work. Your immune system reads the scene too. The same compounds that help trees resist pests act like friendly sparks in you, nudging the body to sharpen its watch without sounding the alarm. It's why a day in the woods lingers in your week. You carry an afterglow that isn't hype, more steadiness, cleaner sleep, fewer pointless spikes. Energy stops leaking on nonsense. The floor comes up. None of this asks for faith. It asks for contact, then repetition. Step in often enough, and the forest effect stops being an event and becomes your default. And once you can recognize the sensation of being edited, thoughts fewer but stronger, legs heavier in a good way, jaw unclenched, without asking, you're ready for deliberate dialogue. That's next. How to ask permission, how to release what's stale down the roots, and how to receive what's coherent back through the hands and breath, so that calm is no longer a mood but a setting. As above, so below isn't a slogan you print on a shirt. It's an instruction for how to move energy through a human body in a living world. Thoth's genius wasn't in piling up secrets. It was in collapsing distance between the big pattern and the small one so you could use it. Today, with your two hands on one tree, look up, a cathedral of branches, each limb subdividing into finer filigree until it thins into air. Look in, your lungs doing the same mathematics, bronchi to bronchioles to alveoli. The forest breathes by fractal, and so do you. When forms rhyme, function can couple. That's the key. Resonance isn't mysticism, it's math with a pulse. The Hermetic lens says reality is layered by correspondence structures echo across scales, and attention is the hinge that lets one layer speak to another. If a forest is a nervous system sprawled across ground, then talking to a tree is not cosplay. It's nerve to nerve. Sap moves the way blood moves. Pressure gradients, valves, timing, fungal threads pass messages like glial cells modulating neurons. When you approach with the right posture, breath, and sound, you are not imposing a story. You are offering a compatible signal into an environment fluent in signals. That's why sometimes you swear the world answers. It isn't fantasy, it's fit. Thoth's language of creation reduces to 4 simple levers you can pull without props: attention, breath, sound, intention. Think of them as ABSI, a short code you'll return to until it lives in your bones. Attention is the beam where you place awareness. Energy follows. Breath is the pump, how you move charge through tissue. Sound is the tuner vibration that lines your inner string to the outer chord. Intention is the vector, the quiet, why that gives direction to the whole. When ABS and I stack, you don't imagine connection, you manufacture coherence. Coherence is felt as steadiness, a quietening that doesn't shrink you, it enlarges you without noise. Attention first. Most attention today is Velcro for panic, sticky for alarms, slippery for stillness. In the grove, you soften your gaze until edges stop shouting. Peripheral vision is not plast. Almi, in the say be attention. Lazy, it's ancestral. Let the scene widen you. Track one line of bark as if it were script. Follow the seam where light brightens moss. When your attention stops jerking and begins to glide, you've already tuned step 1. The medium is listening now. Breath next. Upregulated chests tell modern lives. Shallow, fast, high. Trees descend their breath into roots. You learn to do the same. Inhale through the nose until the ribs bloom quietly. Hold a heartbeat. Then exhale heavier and longer, as if the floor were a soil that could drink what you're done with. The exhale is the delivery truck. Let it carry down what you no longer need. 2 or 3 minutes like this, and the diaphragm remembers its size. Your heart hears. and slows. The forest meets you halfway because you finally showed up with a tempo it recognizes. Sound is where many feel silly, and where the protocol starts to sing literally. You're not performing. You're issuing a tone to invite alignment. Hum if you must be discreet. Tone a vowel if you can. A, open and warm, tends to open the chest. O rounds the belly. I thins and brightens near the brow. Tiny volume, just enough to feel the bone around your mouth ring like a small bell. The goal is not loudness, it's resonance. If you choose to use pitch tones, keep them simple. Notes around 528 feel like mending. Notes that shimmer near the crown can clear the fog from thought. You'll feel it as a lift, not a buzz. And intention, most abused word, most precise tool when you stop forcing it. A good intention is a compass, not a contract. May what's heavy leave cleanly. May what's coherent enter clearly. May I do no harm. Simple, honest, small. If your intention strains, your body will strain with it, and the tree will feel the push. This is conversation, not conquest. You're not siphoning, you're synchronizing. That's the Hermetic ethic underneath all the poetry. Match, don't grab. Offer, don't demand. Align, don't extract. As above, so below. Also means as outside, so inside. The canopy is the macro brain, the mycelium, the macro synapse, the wind, the macro breath. Inside you, the micro equivalents exist, and attention is the bridge that lets the two systems handshake. Mirror a branch's angle with your arm and your shoulder will unlock. Mirror the tree's patience with your exhale and your pulse will follow. This is not child's play. It is adult engineering done with flesh. If you've ever felt foolish placing your palm on bark, consider this. In any other context, you gladly entrain to machines, metronomes, timers, phones. The forest is a living metronome with a million-year tempo. Thoth's instruction is simply to remember which metronomes improve you. The ones that speed you past yourself will strip your charge. The ones that slow you into yourself will keep it. Choose accordingly, then repeat until it sticks. You now have the grammar, A, B, S, I. In a moment, we'll speak a first sentence with it. That begins with something almost lost in modern practice, asking. You wouldn't barge into a stranger's conversation and download your day. Don't do it to a tree. We'll approach with presence. Listen for the nonverbal yes, and only then begin the exchange that clears the static and returns the signal. The key has teeth. Turn it, and a door opens. The next part is how to step through without tripping. You don't open a conversation by shouting. You open it by arriving. First contact begins long before your palm touches bark. It begins at the pace you choose to walk, the way your attention unhooks from your own headlines and starts to read the room. The grove is a room. Step into it like you mean to listen. Let your breathing fall under the tree line and let your gaze widen until the small movements, leaf tremors, ant traffic, a smear of shadow register as part of a single organism doing a million quiet things at once. This is not performance. This is orientation. Your system is telling theirs. I can match your tempo. Pick a tree by feel, not theory. You'll be drawn to one before you can explain why, because of the spread of its crown, the pattern of its bark, the way wind gathers around it, the patch of ground that seems to hold still while everything else fiddles. That draw is a form of familiarity. Follow it. Stand 2 steps away first, not on it. Let your nervous system have a preview while your hands remain yours. Whisper your name inside your chest. If you have a question, sentence it once, quietly, then say nothing. The forest speaks in timing more than words. If you push, you'll drown the reply. Permission is not theater. You already know what a yes and a no feel like in other bodies. A friend who softens when you approach. A stranger who tightens by half an inch. An animal whose ears tilt forward or flatten. Trees signal differently, but the nervous system that reads them is the same. A yes may sound like your breath falling into a longer exhale for no reason. It may feel like your chest widening without effort, or a sense that the noise behind your eyes steps back a little. Sometimes the light seems to discover the bark in higher resolution. Sometimes a bird lands and lingers as if blessing the moment. A no is not drama. It's a fuzziness in your attention, a fidget in your legs, a breeze that keeps interrupting, a small impatience in your jaw. Believe the first report. If it's no, thank it and move. There is always another tree, and learning to recognize no is the first proof you came to listen rather than extract. When it's yes, reduce the distance as if you were closing the last 2 feet to hug someone you respect. No rush. Let the soles of your feet feel the ground as something alive, not as a floor. Trees do not hang in air. They are a collaboration with soil. Your arrival is more honest when your weight admits gravity. Choose where to touch, as if the tree also has preferences. Young bark is like a places. New book cover. Older bark is a library that expects gentle hands. Avoid wounds unless the practice is to offer balm with silence. Place your palm lightly first. Think temperature, not grip. The other hand can follow or wait at your heart. Keep the mouth closed for a moment and let the breath fall entirely through the nose until the ribs widen and settle like a cloak. You are not sending, you are listening. The pressure you use is the pressure you'll get back. Go soft. Listening with skin is a skill you haven't lost. You've just lent it to glass. Bark carries detail your phone can't. You'll notice shifts you can't explain. A pleasant heaviness in the legs, a tug behind the eyes, a low hum in the jaw, a little surge of warmth under the palm. Don't hunt for them. Hunting is noise. This is the part where your body makes a quiet treaty with the tree's field, and both sides agree to stop shouting. If thought arrives, let it be simple and respectful. Thank you. I'm here. Please let what's not mine go down. Please let what's clear come up. If words run on, return to sensation, texture, temperature, weight, breath. Sometimes you'll find the tree inside a busy place, city park, shared path, a lawn in front of flats that belongs to everyone's eyes and no one's hands. Etiquette is part of consent. Choose times when traffic thins. Keep the practice small and discreet, as natural as tying a shoelace. Presence is never a spectacle. If a dog sniffs your ankles or a neighbor asks what you're doing, let it be simple, taking a moment with the tree. If there are signs that say no touching or protected habitat, honor them. Permission includes the human stewards who already made a promise on behalf of that place. Red flags are rare, but real. If the tree feels sickly ooze, mold, wounds that look fresh, do not download your day into it. The ethic is not dumping because the trunk will hold it. Your practice is a conversation, not a landfill. Choose a soul and eye companion that's resourced enough to receive. If the wind starts to rise fast, or a sudden prickle runs up your neck, or a branch creaks above with the tone of warning, not song, step back. Listening includes weather. Safety is not a mood, it's a responsibility. Green lights are gentler than fireworks. They are small and cumulative, a welcome that shows up as ease. The longer you stand there with the right kind of attention, the more you'll feel the clutter shake loose of its own accord. You might find your shoulders drop another millimeter without being asked, or a thought you were chewing suddenly feels unimportant, or a sigh leaves you that sounds like someone else's old story falling away. That's permission turning into presence. That's presence ripening into readiness. There's a moment you'll start to recognize, the seam between listening and exchange. It arrives when the exhale feels heavier than gravity alone, when the palms feel magnetized to the bark without you pressing, when the mind stops volunteering commentary and starts following the breath like a trail it trusts. That's where the work begins in earnest. You've asked and been answered. You've arrived and been admitted. Next, you'll offer what's dense to the roots and receive what's coherent up through the hands and spine, so that calm is no longer a visitor, but a resident. This is where the conversation becomes a circuit. You've listened long enough for your pulse to fall inside the forest's tempo, Now you let what's heavy leave cleanly, and let what's coherent come home. Keep one palm on the bark, as if greeting an elder you respect. Let the other hand rest wherever your body seems to ask for help today. Sternum, solar plexus, lower belly, feet shoulder width, knees soft, jaw unarmed. Pretend you have time, because you do. The tree is not rushing you. Begin with the exhale. Through the nose if you can, the mouth if you must. Let the breath sink and lengthen until gravity feels like a friend again. Imagine not as theater, but as aim that your out-breath can move through your spine and legs into the ground. Call the heaviness by its plain names: stress, tight timelines, the argument that snagged your ribs, the story you keep repeating like a bad jingle. On the exhale, offer it to the roots the way you'd hand a stone back to a riverbed, not dump offer. The difference is respect. If images arrive, let them be simple: dark water leaving, soil drinking, a cable uncoiling downwards. If nothing arrives, trust the sensation. The exhale thickens, the weight travels. Let the inhale be narrower at first. Receive only as much as you have emptied. Feel for a cool, structured current rising from the trunk into your palm, then along the forearm, shoulder, and spine. It might be warmth instead of cool, heaviness instead of lift. The shape doesn't matter, the coherence does. Coherence feels like evenness, like the background hum of a room settling after someone turns off a machine. If you notice a small tug behind the eyes, a widening at the back of the neck, a lengthening across the low ribs, you're reading the right book. The tree isn't sending you personality, it's lending you pattern. Keep the pace honest, longer out, shorter in. Try a quiet cadence, 4 counts in, 6 to 8 out, until the diaphragm remembers its job. If thought interrupts, use it. On the way down, let go. On the way up, let in. If words feel sticky, drop them and return to texture. Bark grain under your palm, weight through your heels, air on the back of your throat. Some people feel the flow as a pendulum that gradually widens. Others feel 2 streams that start separate and begin to braid. However it shows, stay with it until the stitches hold. You will be tempted to push to squeeze the bad out faster, or drink the good in deeper. That's extraction dressed as healing. Trees are not bins or batteries. They are partners, matching, beats grabbing every time. If you find yourself straining, reduce everything by 1/3. Pressure in the hand, size of the breath, ambition in the mind. Paradoxically, the flow strengthens. What cooperates, conducts. At some point, the exhale will land lower than usual, like a lift, reaching a new ground floor. You'll feel feet you forgot you owned. Let your toes spread inside your shoes. Bend your knees by a whisper. Picture roots from your soles meeting the tree's roots, not to steal, but to share a ground. On the next few exhales, allow old static to drain with less narration. You don't need to litigate your past to release its residue. The nervous system speaks faster than language. Now the receiving turns up by itself. The inhale begins to carry a quiet brightness, less like caffeine, more like a clean window. Your chest might bloom an extra centimeter without effort. You might feel a column along the spine that wasn't there before, a sense that your head is being held from above by something kinder than posture. Some will feel micro-tingles across the scalp or a warm ring around the crown. If none of this shows, check the basics. Soften your gaze, lengthen the out-breath, reduce force by that same 1/3. Then give it 1 more minute you thought you didn't have, because most breakthroughs are 1 minute past the moment you usually stop. If emotion rises, you're not breaking the protocol, you're meeting it. Tears are just heat leaving in liquid form. Anger is charge with nowhere to go. Now it has somewhere to go. Keep the hand on the trunk. Let the tree teach your body a different outcome. Strong feelings that do not become storms. Exhale them down the roots with the same courtesy you'd show a guest taking their leave. When the wave finishes, don't reach for a new one. Wait. The quiet after is part of the medicine. 3 to 9 minutes is plenty the first weeks. You're not trying to run a marathon on day 1. You're laying track. When you Feel a natural stop, often a spontaneous deep breath, a big yawn, or a sense that the palm is gently full. Thank the tree inside your chest. Step back a half pace. Let your arms hang heavy and notice the readouts. Slower clock in your head, heavier legs in a good way, jaw that forgot how to clench, thoughts in single file instead of a mob. Drink water when you can, a pinch of salt with it if you've emptied a lot. Electrolytes help the new wiring hold. If you keep a small notebook, make 3 notes only. Where? How long? 1 sentence about how you feel now compared to 5 minutes ago. Don't grade it, track it. Trends are truer than moments. In time, you'll get curious about a grove circuit, moving from one tree to another to learn the flavors of strength they offer. Oak will stand you up. Willow will wring you out gently. Pine will lengthen your breath and tidy your thoughts. Don't collect them like stamps. Visit them like friends. Ask, listen, exchange. Leave the place better than you found it. If the ground is dry, carry water and give a little back. If there's litter, remove some. Energy work without stewardship is cosplay. The point is not a temporary high. It's a new floor. Baseline, not peak. Repeat this exchange often enough, short, honest visits rather than rare, heroic sessions, and your system recalibrates. You'll notice the gap between stimulus and response widen. You'll notice fewer pointless spikes, more clean no's, more generous yeses. You will still be human. You will just leak less. That saved charge funds better choices. When you walk away, keep a thread. Imagine one fiber from your sternum still attached to the trunk. Not to pull from, but to remind you that the contact is portable. Later, at a desk or in a queue, touch your chest, soften your eyes, lengthen the out-breath, and you'll feel the circuit come back online in miniature. That's the training. Build a channel so familiar you can reopen it anywhere. Next, we add tone not as a gimmick, but as a tuning fork to thicken the coherence and stabilize the state so it lasts past the grove and into your day. Silence will take you far. A small sound will take you farther. Not noise tone. The forest already hums. Leaves whisper, trunks creak. Insects sow the air with a thread you only notice when you stop trying to own the room. When you add your voice to that fabric with care, you don't dominate the space. You disappear into it in the best way. Sound is a tuner. Used lightly, it pulls your inner string toward the tree's pitch until the two stop arguing and begin to sing the same note. Start with the smallest instrument you have, a hum behind closed lips. You're not making music, you're making resonance. Place your palm on the bark, the other hand on your chest or belly, and hum just enough to feel bone answer, nose, cheekbones, front teeth, sternum. Think whisper with a tone inside it. If someone a few paces away can hear you clearly, you're pushing. Drop the volume until the vibration is something you feel more than you hear. The forest does not need proof you're there. Your fascia does. Once the tissue begins to fizz, you've found the doorway. Vowels let you steer. A is open and warm, like opening shutters on the ribs. O is round and grounded, a bowl settling in the pelvis. U sinks you even lower, steadying the belly and hips. E brightens the throat and upper chest. I threads a fine line through the brow and crown. Don't overthink it. Let curiosity drive a gentle cycle. A, O, U, E. I like trying keys in a lock to see which turns today. One vowel will feel right for the moment. Stay there until the breath chooses a slower pace without being told to behave. If you want pitch without getting lost in musical theory, use one note you can keep without strain. Many find a mid-range hum melts the jaw and neck. Others like to float a little higher when the head feels foggy. If you're playing with simple frequencies, treat them as cues, not commandments. Tones around 528 feel like tidy hands smoothing a crumpled shirt, mending, aligning. Tones that shimmer near the crown people associate them with 963 can feel like a skylight cracking open after a long winter morning. None of this is a law. Your body will say yes or no within seconds. Believe it. The method is less about sound out there and more about vibration in here. Hold your tone quietly and notice where it lands. Can you feel the bark answer with a pressure that isn't yours? It might arrive as a subtle push back into your palm, or a cool ribbon moving up the forearm, or a ring around the ribs. If it doesn't, make everything smaller. Lower your volume, shorten the tone, lengthen the silence between tones so the tissue can register the afterglow. That afterglow, those few seconds when the hum stops and the body still thrums, is where integration happens. Stretch those seconds. They are the bridge. Sound also edits thought. A steady hum gives restless language something to do besides rehearse yesterday's weather. Words lose their job when tone keeps better time. If your mind starts composing essays, switch to a broken pattern. 3 short hums, 1 longer, pause, or hum on the exhale only, silent on the inhale. That asymmetry shakes loose the habit of trying to perform calm instead of allowing it. You can use your hands as resonators. Cup one hand lightly near the mouth to feel your own tone reflect back into bone. Then move that hand to the crown, the back of the neck, the upper chest, letting the same note light different rooms. You're mapping your instrument without leaving the tree. If you have a small tuning fork or a phone tone in headphones, fine, but keep technology in its place. A fork can show you what in feels like, then pocket it and return to your own voice. External volume too often bulldozes the very sensitivity you're there to grow. Public space asks for courtesy. A hum can be almost invisible. If speaking tone feels too exposed, toneless breath through a softly open mouth can create a quiet ooh. The ear barely catches, but the bones do. You're not trying to convert passers-by. You're trying to converse with a living pillar. Let your practice be as discreet as tying a shoe, and the forest will do more of the heavy lifting. Sometimes the tree will seem to feed the note back to you. The trunk can act like a soundboard, sending a slow pulse up your arm that meets your tone on the way out. That is the moment to do less, not more. Reduce your push by 1/3 and let the circuit show itself. When 2 tuning forks match, one does not shout at the other. They meet and maintain. That is the ethic here. You may hear about specific scales, solfeggios, mantras, and sacred names. Tools abound. Use them like scaffolding, not like cages. A simple hum will often beat a complicated chant because the body can keep it without strain and ease conducts. If a word helps set your intention piece, clear, gentler, fold it into the breath once, and then let tone carry the meaning without syllables. The forest reads vibration better than vocabulary. As tone deepens, posture changes by itself. The head floats, the chest unhooks from the shoulders, the low back stops doing the next job. People talk about Merkaba or light bodies here. You don't need the language to know the feeling. An internal geometry that clicks into place so cleanly, the room seems to stand still. That click is precious. Don't chase it. Make the conditions and let it find you. When it does, notice 2 signatures: effortlessness and span. You feel larger without pushing, calmer without shrinking. That's coherence thickening. Close the sound the way you opened it. Small. Let the last hum fade to silence and guard 3 breaths of emptiness. Listen for the room's reply. Wind shifting, a crow's comment, a leaf's dry applause. You are part of that. Now, if you keep a note of your practice, write 1 line, hummed quietly, A to O, chest warmed, crown cleared. Then put the notebook away and let the day prove the work. Cleaner choices, fewer spikes, steadier gaze. Sound is not decoration for the method. It is an accelerant. Used with respect, it shortens the distance between your default and the forest's default until the 2 are the same most days. The mind calls that mystical. The body calls it familiar. In the next part, we name exactly why it feels like magic when it is mostly wiring, remembering its job, and how to repeat it on purpose until calm becomes your new baseline. This is the part where the lights come on and the mystery gets friendlier. What you felt with your palm on bark, the way your head seemed to lift on an invisible thread, the way the chest opened without being wrestled, the way the room got quieter without changing its volume. That's not you imagining things to feel better. That's your nervous system doing its job when given the right inputs. Calm isn't a mood you earn, it's a setting you restore. This is less about belief than mechanics. Start with the brake pedal you were born with, the vagus nerve. It threads from brainstem through throat and chest to the belly, reporting on the state of the world inside you and adjusting your pace accordingly. In cities, it spends most of its time trying to soothe alarms you didn't ask for. Under trees, it stops firefighting and starts conducting. Your exhale lengthens. The heart's beat-to-beat variation becomes supple rather than jerky, a signature called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, and the body reads its own signal as safe enough to heal and think. You recognize this not as fireworks, but as a feeling that you finally have time. Breath is the lever that moves this brake with precision. When your out-breath grows longer than your in-breath, you stimulate baroreceptors, pressure sensors near the heart and neck that nudge the vagus to step forward. Humming adds a vibration that relieves tension in the back of the throat, where a lot of modern lives hold. Together, they loosen the choke point between mind and body so traffic can flow again. Less traffic jam, more green lights. The mind calls it clarity. The body knows it as oxygen getting where it needs to go. Attention widens at the same time. Peripheral vision is not sentimental, it's survival kit. When you soften the gaze and let the edges back in, the midbrain stops treating every corner as a threat, and the default mode network, your inner narrator, turns the volume down. That's why the commentary slackens. You didn't win an argument with your thoughts. You changed the set design so the monologue no longer makes sense. Then the prefrontal cortex, the bit that plans wisely and says clean nose, comes back online. You feel less possessed by the next impulse and more able to choose the next action. People ask about placebo here, as if it's an insult. Placebo is proof that expectancy and context move physiology. You can bring expectancy to a concrete wall and not get this result. The difference with a tree is dose and repeatability. Same protocol, same body, same grove over a handful of sessions, the pattern holds. Out breath lengthens, jaw releases, pulse steadies, choices improve. That's not mood magic, that's training. The mystery is how quickly it works, not whether. There are honest obstacles. Self-consciousness is the first. You worry you look odd, so your body chooses performance over presence. Fix it by making the practice smaller than your doubt. Half the volume, half the movement, twice the attention. Hum so quietly only your teeth know. Keep your eyes soft enough that you could notice a bird without looking for it. When you stop auditioning for the part of calm person in a park, calm arrives like a colleague who hates theater and loves competence. The second obstacle is mental chatter. Thoughts don't need enemies. They need a job. Give them one. On exhale, silently label the texture in your palm. Rough, divided by warm, divided by smooth. On inhale, count 1. Next cycle, new texture word. Then 2. Go to 5 and start again. This is not a test. It's a leash, gentle enough that thought can walk with you without dragging you through yesterday. The third is, nothing's happening. It is, but you're checking so hard you keep missing it. You're used to states that slap you awake. Coffee, outrage, alarms. Coherence is quieter. Try a diagnostic that doesn't require faith. Swallow once and feel how the throat moves. Now hum for 20 seconds, stop, and swallow again. If it slides easier, something changed. Or check jaw. Touch fingertips lightly to the masseter muscles and clench. Note hardness. Release. Hum 30 seconds. Try again. Softer means the system is stepping down. No poetry required. A few micro drills help when the wheels wobble. Eyes soften. Imagine your eyeballs are floating a millimeter back from the lids. Let the muscles around them melt as if warmed by sunlight through leaves. Box breath. In for 4, hold for 2, out for 6 to 8. Pause for 1, 60-second hum. Pick a vowel, whisper. Tone on the exhale, silent inhale. 3 cycles. Each of these is a tiny hinge that opens a large door. None need a forest to work, but a forest makes them almost effortless, which is the whole point. Less fight, more fit. Another reason this feels like more than calm is electrical. Your heart doesn't just pump, it broadcasts a rhythm the rest of you organizes around. When the rhythm is jagged, the message is confusion. When it evens out, the body votes to de-escalate. Stand next to a living column that has been practicing evenness for decades, and your chest learns the pattern the way a tuning fork learns a pitch. That ease makes better decisions possible because you can finally tell signal from noise. The yes you feel isn't a fantasy about destiny. It's a cleaner read on reality. Consider time, too. Under trees, a minute stretches. That's not mystic clock. Fiddling, it's fewer internal interruptions. In perpetual notification culture, your attention is constantly yanked into the near future or the recent past. In coherent environments, attention sits down. Sitting is where depth happens. Depth is where you remember what you actually meant to do today. None of this turns you into a saint or makes you immune to life. It does give you a sturdier floor to stand on when life knocks. The aim is not to float through your week unbothered. It's to leak less charge on nonsense so you have more for what matters. That's the practical outcome of talking to trees. Not ethereal visions, but ordinary competence with fewer detours into panic. If you've been waiting for permission to treat this like training rather than a mood hobby, take it now. Keep it simple. Same place, similar time. Short, honest sessions. Track 3 things after each practice: the length of your out-breath, the state of your jaw, the cleanliness of your next decision. Watch the trend line. When the trend line lifts, the rest of your life gets easier to solve. From here, we take the wiring you've felt and make it portable. You won't always have a grove at arm's reach. You will always have breath, attention, a hint of tone, and a square meter of sky. In the next part, you'll learn how to carry the forest into a commute, a meeting, a kitchen, how to reopen the channel in 30 seconds so calm stops being place-dependent and starts being you-dependent. You won't always have a cathedral of green outside your door. You will have a kitchen, a corridor of sky between buildings, a bus stop, a laptop glow at midnight, a window ledge that can hold a pot of living leaves. The point of practice isn't to depend on a place. It's to build a channel so familiar you can reopen it anywhere. Start with your home. Make the air less tired. Crack the window when weather allows. Let air move. Put one living plant where your eyes land most: by the kettle, above the sink, next to the desk. Not decor, a coworker. Each morning, meet it for 60 seconds. Hand on leaf or pot, eyes soft. 4 breaths in, 6 to 8 out. One small hum you feel more than hear. Whisper your intention once like a memo to your nervous system. Clear, steady, kind. Then get on with your day. You've set the meter before the noise begins. Carry the forest to the street by changing how you look. City sight is a funnel tight. Forward, threat, first. Practice woodland vision in concrete. Widen until you can track the swing of your own arms, the movement of clouds between roofs, a pigeon's arc without following it. 10 seconds of that and the midbrain steps down from the ledge. Let your breath drop in response, no heroics. Just longer out than in while your feet notice weight. Pavement is not soil, but your soles can still behave like roots. At red lights, pause the scroll and imagine 2 thin cables lowering from your heels into the ground. On green, walk with those cables intact. This is not pretend. It's posture that tells your body it's connected to something bigger than the next notification. Your commute is rehearsal space. Train, tram, bus, traffic, all bells, in modern disguise. Choose a cue that repeats, door chime, station name, a certain corner shop sliding by, and attach a micro reset. One nose inhale, one whisper, tone out, jaw loose, tongue unglued from the roof of your mouth. If you're shoulder to shoulder with strangers, breathe only. If you can, let a thread of hum run under the crowd, noise like a private river. Don't perform, keep it invisible. Your fascia hears you even when no one else does. 2 minutes to destination, trade the feed for the sky, 1 square of it. Watch a cloud complete a thought. You're smuggling canopy into the day. At work, the desk can be a harsh little day. Alter, tame it. Move the brightest rectangle, your screen, an inch farther than habit, so your neck remembers it has a back. Put your left palm flat on the surface, as if it were bark, and your right hand on your sternum. Take 5 cycles of 4, in, 6, out, while your eyes soften enough to let the room in. If you've got 30 seconds between calls, use a low-volume vowel. O is tidy, and doesn't read as odd to unhook the breath from your shoulders. If people ask, you're taking a breath. Truth is a good disguise. Before you send anything that carries weight, an email, a decision, a no, touch your jaw. Find softness. Lengthen the out-breath by 2 seconds, then press send. The difference won't be visible on the screen. It will be visible in the outcomes that follow. City trees are colleagues with overtime. Approach with the same ethic as the grove, scaled to the pavement. Choose times when the space isn't a thoroughfare. Hand on trunk for 30 to 90 seconds. No dumping. Match. Don't grab. If it's winter and bark is cold enough to bite, use the sleeve or glove as a medium. Your nervous system can still read the signal. Avoid roots boxed by metal if the heat of the day has turned the soil sour. If the only tree in reach is behind a fence, practice adjacency, palm to the fence post, eyes soft through the leaves, breath down and back. People think close enough is compromise. Here, it's craft. Your body will meet the field if your attention is clean. Noise is part of the city instrument. Let it be texture, not a verdict. Siren rises? Use it as a metronome. Tone quietly on its climb. Release as it falls away. 3 cycles, then silence. Construction thuds. Each thud becomes a reminder to drop your breath to the floor. Vendor calls and horns. Label them once as weather and stop arguing with the sky. You're not trying to erase the soundtrack. You're trying to keep it from driving your pulse. Night has its own chapter. Before bed, cut blue light earlier than your pride prefers. Stand at the window or balcony and find one dark shape of a tree, even if it's only a silhouette against sodium orange. Match its stillness for 60 seconds, no tone. Just wait. In the dark, put one hand on the low ribs and one on the belly. In for 4, out for 8, 5 rounds. If thought wants to write essays, give it a job. List 3 things that actually grew today. Plant watered, conversation mended, breath remembered at a red light. Growth is coherence in time. Noticing it tells your nervous system the day was not a waste, and sleep is allowed to be deep. Keep score without becoming a clerk. After practice, jot 3 numbers or notes. Out breath length, jaw state, tight divided by neutral divided by soft. And next, decision cleanliness, muddy divided by clear. Once a week, skim back. Trends teach better than moods. If you're gadget inclined, HRV in the morning can show the floor rising over weeks, but don't let the graph boss the body. Your felt sense is primary. The chart should confirm you, not command you. Some days the city will win, and you'll forget the thread. Fine. Forgiveness is part of fitness. The point is not perfect streaks. It's shorter returns. Make the first missed cue the next cue. The moment you notice you haven't noticed anything for hours, touch chest, soften eyes, lengthen out breath. Hum once so quietly your teeth are the only witnesses. You're back. The channel is open. Keep it open while you make tea. Write the message. Step into the lift. Answer the child. hold the silence. This is what carrying the forest looks like. Not dramatic ritual, but dozens of small choices that keep your field coherent when the scene is not. If you share a home, make the practice social without sermon. Invite for a 1-minute stand by the plant before breakfast, a 3-breath pause before dinner, a walk around the block where the rule is phones in pockets and eyes at horizon height. If you meet a friend in a square, sit near the biggest tree and let conversation happen inside its radius. You don't need to announce anything. People can feel when a space is kinder than usual. That's the forest working through you, not just on you. The city won't soften on its own. You teach it how by refusing to run at its speed when your biology prefers a wiser one. Each micro-practice is a civil refusal to be dragged into jitter for things that don't deserve your pulse. Do them often enough and you'll notice the strange outcome. The most ordinary places get easier to live in. The rare green places work faster when you find them. And your best choices stop waiting for weekends. That's the point. Coherence as habit, not holiday. You don't visit calm, you carry it. What begins as a better mood becomes a better signal. Do the exchange often enough and you stop chasing peaks. Your floor rises. The first markers are small and domestic. Fewer sharp replies, cleaner exits from arguments, a calendar that suddenly has white space where drama used to squat. Then the pattern widens. Calls arrive from people you've wanted to meet. Work that fits lands closer. Delays that would have spiked you last month feel like weather, not verdicts. This isn't luck dressing up. It's resonance doing its normal job like fines like. When you carry coherence, your decisions stop advertising scarcity, and scarcity stops answering. Coherence compounds because it is contagious. Hearts broadcast rhythm. Nervous systems read rooms. Walk into a meeting with your breath already lower than your voice, and the heat drops a degree before anyone says a word. Sit with a friend while keeping your exhale longer than your inhale, and they unconsciously match you because the body prefers ease when it's offered without sermon. This is how the practice climbs from you into your conversations, then into your household, then into your street, not as manifesto, but as metronome. Species become teachers at this stage, not novelties. Oak stabilizes its field, invites your spine to find a straight line without ego. You'll notice boundaries get cleaner after oak days. The no that used to wobble lands without theater. Willow rings grief without ripping. You finish a willow session not collapsed but rinsed. You'll find yourself telling the truth to yourself a day earlier than you used to. Pine lifts and lengthens. The breath goes vertical. The mind arranges. The list that felt like a swarm becomes a row you can walk down. None of this is magical thinking about trees as talismans. It's the nervous system rehearsing states with partners that keep those states steady longer than you could alone. As your frequency settles, selection improves. You stop collecting people you have to rescue, impress, or manage. It isn't cruelty, it's clarity. When your field is no longer broadcasting, "I am available for chaos," chaos has a harder time finding your door. The inverse is also true. Creative, kind, clean people can finally see you because the noise that used to blur your outline is gone. Synchronicity, the right book, the chance meeting is not the universe finally noticing your address. It's you moving slowly enough to be in the right place at the right time more often. Boundaries get kinder and firmer together. The old reflex was to build walls when you were exhausted, then tear them down when guilt arrived. Coherence lets you draw lines with a pencil that doesn't shake. You'll notice how often the right no keeps a friendship alive. You'll notice how often silence is a better answer than speed. You'll also notice relationship patterns that only made sense when you felt undersupplied. Some will fade without a fight. Some will ask for new terms. You can make those conversations under a tree, palms to bark for 1 minute first, so the sentence you say belongs to your best rhythm, not to an old alarm. Beware the temptation to outsource your center to the grove. Trees are partners, not prosthetics. If you catch yourself thinking you can't make a clean decision without visiting the park, The practice has flipped from conversation to crutch. Correct, gently. Use the city drills. Put your hand on a houseplant for 30 seconds and remember, the forest is not a place. It is a pattern you can carry. Bring the oak state to the email, the willow state to the apology, the pine state to the plan. Season matters. In spring, sap ascends. Your projects want to too. In summer, hold. Don't add noise to growth that's already growing. In autumn, let what's finished fall without commentary. Compost is currency. In winter, do less, but with more attention. Bark Cold teaches you about honest limits. Use that lesson on your calendar. The protocol is the same year-round: ask, release, receive, tone, but your requests and your pace should rhyme with the season if you want the field to amplify you. Group practice multiplies the effect. Try a triad under a tree. 3 people, triangle around the trunk, 1 minute of quiet arrival, then 3 rounds of shared hum. Person A tones, while B and C breathe. Switch, switch. Keep volume low enough that it feels like the trunk is doing half the work. Then a minute of silence with palms on bark. Then each speaks 1 sentence only, what they're releasing, what they're receiving. No therapy, no fixing, no commentary. Close with gratitude, and pick up a few bits of litter when you step away so the space can feel the reciprocity. You'll walk out with a felt experience of collective coherence, conversation that doesn't spike, laughter that lands without edge, decisions that happen without a wrestling match. You'll also find that generosity becomes easier when you're not leaking. Coherent systems can afford to give because they don't confuse giving with self-erasure. You'll bring water on hot days, leave a handful of seed where it belongs, learn the names of 2 species on your street, so you can greet them properly. You'll choose routes that pass your chosen trees even if they add 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes will buy you 30 back later, because choices made from steadiness save repairs. Watch how your work changes. Deadlines still exist, but you don't match their panic. You schedule deep tasks after short exchanges with a plant or a patch of sky, because you've learned what the hum does to your prefrontal cortex. You use oak days for decisions that need spine, willow days for conversations that need softness, pine days for architecture and clean lists. You stop assigning moral value to your energy and start assigning intelligent context to it. That shift alone will make you more effective than any time management app you've tried this year. This is the passage from mood boost to frequency shift, from chasing a feeling to carrying a field. When your field steadies, life organizes around it. People feel safer near you without knowing why. Rooms get smarter when you enter because you refuse to race. Your best ideas stop arriving only in showers and walks. They find you at the desk because the desk finally feels like a place where ideas are welcome. That's the signal we've been aiming to restore. And when 12, 100, 1,000 of us carry that signal, streets feel different. Not because policy changed overnight, but because pace did. The next step is obvious and overdue. Stewardship. If the forest is raising you, how do you raise it? If the practice clarified your purpose, how do you aim that purpose at the ground beneath your own feet? That's where we're going next. From personal tuning to collective tending, from a private protocol to a public promise. Personal coherence is not the finish line, it's the on-ramp to culture. A single nervous system that refuses to sprint at the pace of panic is a relief. A street of them is a climate. When enough of us carry the forest's rhythm into kitchens, buses, boardrooms, school gates, the background tempo of a place changes. Meetings shorten because posturing has nowhere to stick. Arguments lose their stage directions. Children behave better not because they're policed, but because someone in the room is breathing like a tree, and the room follows the oldest teacher available. This is how awakening scales, not by noise, by resonance. Purpose clarifies when energy stops leaking. The question, what should I do with my life, shrinks to something workable. What can I tend today that stays tended when I leave? Start embarrassingly small. Learn the names of the trees on your street. Give them water in a heat wave. Pick 2. You adopt, not as property but as responsibility. If the pavement strangles their roots, talk to the council. If a branch is wounded, call a professional rather than playing hero. Purpose is not a costume. It is a pattern of care that survives your mood. Make a practice of visible reciprocity. If a tree steadies your breath before a hard conversation, leave the place better than you found it. A handful of litter removed, a small patch of compacted soil loosened with your shoe, a ring of mulch carried from a bag you now keep in your boot. Host a 10-minute tidy with neighbors under a canopy. No speeches, no selfies, just hands. People remember the feeling of working beside calm more than they remember any argument you could win online. Calm is the billboard. Bring coherence to civic choices. Vote like someone who plans to live here. If your city budgets for concrete but not canopy, show up. The same attention you learned at bark level is what committees respond to. Steady, specific, patient. Planting schemes thrive when they're adopted by hands, not just funded on paper. Volunteer with the people who already do the slow work: urban foresters, watershed stewards, community gardeners. You'll learn that stewardship is less about heroics and more about showing up in the rain. Teach without sermons. A child will remember one thing: how they felt around you. If you can sit on a bench for 3 minutes and let your breath lower the temperature of a tantrum, you've passed a code along that will outlive any lecture. Show them how to ask a tree before tests and tryouts. Show them how to hum when the monster under the bed is really their own pulse. Show them that phones are tools and forests are teachers, not the other way around. Their bodies will out-argue every algorithm if you give them contrast early. Turn gatherings into coherence engines. Dinners start with 3 shared breaths. Meetings begin with a 30-second eyes, soften, and a sentence of what you're releasing, so the agenda is lighter. Walk and talks default to routes with trees. When there aren't any, carry a tiny practice hand to sternum. Exhale longer, one unseen hum. If you lead teams, schedule decisions after micro-exchanges with plants or patches of sky. The output will read smarter because it is oxygen, and patience are underrated strategy tools. Ritualize the seasons. Spring is for invitations and beginnings. Summer is for tending what's alive. Autumn is for honest endings. Winter is for attention without rush. Hold small events that match that rhythm. A neighborhood planting in spring, a slow picnic in summer with phones away, an autumn letting go walk where each person names one thing they're done dragging, a winter candle evening with quiet breath and warm bowls. Culture is a garden. It either happens on purpose or it happens by default. Choose purpose. Guard against the performance of purity. The point is not to become the person who scolds others for living quickly. The point is to become the person whose pace is such a relief that speed feels foolish in your presence. That is, leadership the body can trust. If you fall out of practice, and you will return without theatrics, apologize to your breath. Touch a leaf. Hum once. Continue. Resilience is not a straight line. It is a good memory for the path back. Let your money vote as clearly as your lungs. Buy from people who don't punish your nervous system. Fund canopies, not just campaigns. If you can, underwrite a tree for a schoolyard where the only shade is a wall. If you can't, plant seed balls with a child and teach them that patience has a harvest. Every dollar is a field note about the world you want. Make your notes legible. When grief comes, and it will take it to Willow, then take it to each other. Collective coherence is not the absence of sorrow. It is sorrow that moves without flooding the whole valley. Sit in circles where people can breathe and speak one sentence at a time. Keep a hand on a living thing if there's one nearby. Close with gratitude even when the story isn't finished, especially then. Gratitude is not an apology for wanting more. It is a way of keeping the channel open when you're tempted to shut it and harden. If this work has been a steadying hand, don't do it alone. We share more of the method: clean diagrams, city adaptations, our deeper field notes in our free newsletter. For a limited time, everyone who joins via the link in the description also receives a copy of our ebook at no cost. If this matters to you, do not postpone it and scroll past. The list is where we share what can't live on a public platform. You began this film to raise your energy. You finished by realizing that your energy raises everything you touch: rooms, routes, routines, relationships. That is Thoth's method made ordinary. Attention, breath, sound, intention, repeated until the macro, forest, and the micro-human agree on tempo. Keep it small and honest. Show up when it rains. Drink water after practice. Tell the truth sooner. Leave places kinder than you found them. Teach one person what you learned under bark. And if you feel this on a deep level, comment, "I get the code."